That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Green Lantern, the movie prequels. I decided I'm going to stick with Green Lantern trades for a hot minute, so just strap in. I had a couple that I needed to get through. Green Lantern, the movie prequels. So this is something, I remember when the movie came out, and I was actually really excited for the movie, and I will still defend it to a certain extent. It's far from perfect, but man, if it doesn't have stuff that I really like in it, and I'll defend... I know I sound crazy for this. I will defend the costume. Hot take, alright? The Green Lantern movie costume is the best costume the character's ever had. I know, it's a hot take, but I dig it. Anyway, so yeah, we get this series of movie prequels. These were a series of issues that came out starring different members of the Green Lantern Corps, and they're basically larger supporting characters in the film itself. And these are just one-shot stories with them that all tie into the plot of the movie in some way, shape, or form. That being said, not really, not significantly. None of these plots really depend on the movie, and ultimately most of them probably just work as regular Green Lantern stories. So, yeah, if you're worried that, I hate the movie, if you don't absolutely despise the costume and character designs, I think you'll be fine. Anyway, so the first one we get is a story about Abin Sur. He is stopping a smuggler who ditches his payload in an asteroid field, and it ends up crash landing on Earth. And then Abin has to go and retrieve it without alerting interstellar contact. Unfortunately, it just happens to crash land near a military base where Lieutenant Amanda Waller is the only one to see it whilst on guard duty. So she goes to check it out, and it landed by happenstance in the middle of a field of military vehicles that have been left to rust and decay. But because it's alien technology, it kind of merges all these military vehicles into this giant kill machine thing that Amanda Waller tries to fight on her own. It doesn't quite work, and Abin Sur has to come in and try to save the day, but he actually does admire Amanda Waller as he sees her trying very hard to stop the machine. Which she actually does end up succeeding at, surprisingly. So Abin Sur doesn't really do much in this story except for kind of gaslight Amanda Waller. Realizing what the machine is, he can't allow even a scrap of it to exist, and since it landed in a junkyard, he does the only safe thing he can think of and picks up the entire junkyard, leaving nothing of the scene. So he takes it and throws it into the sun. Meanwhile, Amanda Waller gets a promotion because she's seen things but is smart enough to stay quiet about it. And that kind of sets up Abin Sur and Amanda Waller for our story. Abin thinking to himself, maybe Earth is actually ready to join the intergalactic community. Nothing else, it shows promise. And then it says epilogue years later, and it's Abin, hurling towards the nearest sentient planet, and it turns out that's Earth. It says Earth. Yes, a planet with promise. To be continued in Green Lantern the movie. So, on some level, yeah, that works and it ties in with the movie and everything, but ultimately it works on its own just fine. That's just a fine Abin Sur story that really doesn't have anything to do with the movie. The Amanda Waller stuff's a little weird, but that's a fine Amanda Waller origin, too. The next story is with Tomar Ray. And I like that we get these close-ups of the movie design characters. I got a book to show off here a little bit later to further justify my love for the Green Lantern movie character designs and costume design stuff. So I'll go through some of that art too in a sec. But yeah, there's really close-up on Tomar Ray, and it looks good. #fight me. Alright, so Tomar Ray is floating around on Ella and is given word of a mission to go stop a deadly terrorist wanted by the Guardians, and so he starts following him, and the evil terrorist heads off into the forbidden sector. I do love the way the artists here, not all of the art in this book is done by one guy. So let's see here. The first story with Abin Sur has... it's not bad, but it's clearly not in the artist's comfort zone. I think this artist just looks like they do more of a minimalist, more cartoony kind of style, whereas this image of Tomar Ray, I think, just looks a lot better. I think just fits the artist's style a little bit more. Able to work with that level of detail. So Tomar Ray is hunting this terrorist who has lain waste to a planet and heads off into space to find him. Apparently, when Tomar's people get angry, their skin turns a bright red, and that'll even show through the costume, which is kind of a cool idea. Neat little feature to show off there, since it didn't have the opportunity in the movie. But yeah, the terrorists head off into the Forbidden Sector. And so Tomar Ray is not supposed to go in there. It's against the law for Green Lanterns to go in there, but he decides it's more important to go stop the guy. Finds the ship, they get in a fight, and because of the area where they are, Tomar begins to feel fear, and his ring begins to quickly drain. So he is ultimately able to defeat the bad guy and win the fight, but it leaves his ring so low that he doesn't really have, unfortunately, many options. So not only did the terrorists, in fact, steal a ship, he stole a ship with hostages on it. And so it leaves Tomar Ray in a pretty shitty situation where he has to decide, alright, do I try to save one of the hostages? Do I leave all of them here on this planet and try to come back with help, knowing that this guy might kill all three of them before I get back? Or do I take him with me alone and leave the hostages here? Hopefully, I'll be able to be back in time for a rescue mission. And so he makes a choice that he's not happy with and takes the bad guy, leaving the three guys. And that's where our prequel, or our prologue for the Green Lantern movie starts, with those three guys accidentally discovering Parallax. Again, something that does tie into the movie, but it just works really well as a story on its own, so I appreciated that. Next we get a Kilowog story, and again, nice close-up render on the artwork for the movie, so that's really cool. Explosions. This artist does a pretty decent job dealing with the movie costume and that level of detail. Let's see here. Patrick Gleason and Tony Shasteen were the pencilers on here, and I know Patrick Gleason did a lot of Green Lantern stuff. Cliff Richards was the artist on the Tomar Ray thing. We got Carlos Ferriera doing the art here, and I think he does kind of a middle ground. His stuff is... it's definitely capable of showing off the level of detail in the movie, but I don't know if he really makes it work. I don't know if he makes it look as good as I feel the Tomar Ray one did. So take that how you will. Anyway, so it's Kilowog training some new recruits. Salak shows up and yada yada. Meanwhile, a Lantern who has precognitive abilities goes to tell the Guardians that she senses something really bad coming, and that's Parallax in the movie. And so they're not really sure what to make of it. Meanwhile, Kilowog's training everybody, and one of his exercises is to wake them up in the middle of the night, tell them their planet that is under attack by the Spider Guild, and that they all have to work together to try to stop it. But they're quickly defeated. All the rookies are doing a terrible job and are unable to save the day. The Spider Guild are getting and begin to drag people away when Kilowog says, all right, end simulation, and tells them that this was all just a giant ruse to make them feel what it's like to be under this intense level of pressure. Hey, buzzed is there, yay. And so he forces them all to, repeat the exercise over and over again. There is one moment in here that I actually really, really liked. I thought it was really cool. So this was all a lie? No, it was a wake-up call, you poozer. Next time it's going to be for real, and your fellow recruit pals are going to be splattered all over you, or you're going to be splattered on them. Instead of the Spider Guild killing 10 of you, they end up killing the entire class and taking over all of Oa because you didn't follow a direct order to destroy the Hive ships. You take away the caps of the battery symbol and it reminds you of what you're fighting for. It's your world on your chest. Your world is your badge. I really like that. So they take away the caps and it's just a circle. So that's the world. But it's also her world and his. The simple circle of the planet is represented on your uniform and ring. You're not only safeguarding your world, you're safeguarding your neighbors. I liked that a lot. That was a really cool little moment. I thought that was a neat little idea there to visually represent it that way. That's pretty cool. Anyway, Kilowog's called away by Tomari, who gives him the sad news that Abensur has passed on, and that it looks like an Earthman is going to be the one with his ring, and so they'll have to train him really, really well. Nice close-up of Ryan Reynolds' Hal Jordan costume. This was pretty much the shot that a lot of people really began to kind of warm up to the costume on until the movie came out, and then they just shat all over again. Man, I love the way that the flowing energy would carry down the lines on the costume and go to the ring whenever you made something. I thought that looked so cool in the movie. So the next chapter is called Being Human. This is actually written by Geoff Johns with Greg Berlanti. The artist is Jerry Ordway. And it starts with some of the events from the movie, and it shows Hal being transported to Oa and being examined there. And we get kind of an interesting take here, where Tomari and Sinestro are looking over Hal Jordan and trying to figure out why the ring would choose a human, since they're so backwards, and they're all surprised by this. And so they begin to use what the ring has scanned to look at Hal Jordan's memories. And so we get some neat little stuff here that I thought was pretty cool, including a reference to something that happened in the comics, which is Hal Jordan getting kicked out of the Air Force for punching a superior officer. And I don't know, I like that quite a bit, honestly. But all Sinestro sees is how Hal Jordan is. This human flies with rudimentary machines only to evacuate when it becomes dangerous. He joins what passes as their military forces only to lash out against his superiors. He walks away from those that would fight for him. This Earthman is reckless, insubordinate, and most of all, afraid. And then Tomari is able to look at the same events and go back, and sees that the reason he punched out a superior officer is because the guy was harassing a woman. Yes, you see, Sinestro, nothing is as simple as it seems. Do you have anything to say for yourself? I quit. Very Hal Jordan moment. Is this supposed to impress me, Tomari? This pathetic conflict, a conflict this human started to protect someone from another. The fact that it was his superior officer is immaterial. As is this act of heroism, it simply shows he quits when things become difficult. But the scope of our responsibilities is beyond a human's comprehension, Tomari, and more important, it is beyond their ability. These humans are born on Earth and they die on Earth. They have experienced nothing outside of their own incestuous universe. Again, these things are not often what they appear, Sinestro. Humanity has achieved a great many things. And it shows Gandhi and MLK and shit. What's that? It's just a... It's the assembly line? That's weird. Perhaps there may have been humans in the past that achieved great things relative to their world, but what of now? Ring, show us if there was any other candidates on the planet Earth worthy of being selected for the Green Lantern Corps. And it just shows a locker room where there's Guy Gardner and maybe Hal Jordan, or not Hal Jordan, maybe Jon Stewart. One other? Give it time to complete scanning, Sinestro. There could be others. No, as I said, Tomari, this is all a mistake. How many from your world of Kurogara could wield that ring and do what you do, Sinestro? None. Then your world, my world, is united. One language, one culture, one people. I have taught them to be without fear, something humans are apparently incapable of being. So let's see where this human's fear was born. And I see like Hal Jordan's dad dying and stuff. And I tend to like this story a lot because it's just, again, it's fairly disconnected from the movie. This is probably the one that has the most connection, but it works pretty basically because of how close the movie ended up following the comics. So yeah, we get like we see Hal Jordan watching his dad die and yada yada. And then it's like, Hal Jordan is full of fear, and if we are to defeat fear, we must be impervious to it. If we are not, what hope do we have to defeat Parallax? Yes, what hope indeed. And that's when the costume begins to form on Hal Jordan. So it's like right before the scene of Hal meeting Tomar Ray. I quite like that. I thought that was, it was a pretty good moment. And then we just get some other, like, cool scenes. And these are just completely disconnected from the movie, almost. It's actually really impressive that they just didn't give that much of a fuck. We get some scenes of, like, this alien who wants to create things in a land torn up by war. When she becomes the Green Lantern of her sector. And she goes to Oa and begins to learn, and she's like, no, I cannot be a warrior. That is not me. I am a creator. I do not fight. And they're like, oh, well, you must go seek the Emerald Warrior then. So she learns to use the ring to fly, to go seek out the Emerald Warrior, and along the way she accidentally crashes into a ship and causes it to start to collapse, but she ends up saving it by creating a giant green flower to catch it and safely deliver it to the ground. Then she realizes, then they go, oh, good, so you have found the Green Warrior then. You have found the Great Emerald Warrior. And it's like, wait, I have? Yes, it is you. I quite like that. That's just another, it's a solid, that's just how you do a random Green Lantern story. Image of Sinestro, nice up and close. Looks good. We get The Chosen One. This is by Geoff Johns and Michael Goldenberg, with art by Harvey, Tolibao, Cliff Richards, and Jerry Ordway. We get buzzed again, but the artist draws him way too big, and I don't like it. Buzzed, he doesn't have to be like a housefly like this big. But the second you make him like human-sized bee, no, it suddenly got very, very frightening. It goes from being like, oh, how fun and cute. He can be like a, the size of your fist or something. Just small enough where it's like, whoa, but they're just big enough where it's like, whoa, but still small enough where it's not like terrifying. So this story, oh man, what even happens? Oh, this is when all the Green Lanterns find out about Abin Sur dying. And they look at the ceremony of his tomb being created, and Sinestro reflects back on everything that Abin Sur did for him. So we get this origin for Sinestro where his world was in chaos and he tried to appeal to both sides. The ones in the high classes are just trying to divide us and so they can remain where they are, but if we all just saw past that, then we could be a greater people together. And it's at that point that the ring chooses him and takes him to Oa, and Abin Sur talks to him on Oa, and like Sinestro is furious because he'd heard legends of the Green Lantern Corps, but knew it couldn't be real because of all the chaos on his world. If there was a Green Lantern, then they would have stopped it. And Abin Sur has tried to talk some sense into him. And so Sinestro ends up going back and helping, Adam says, so Green Lanterns don't believe in vengeance, we believe in justice. And Sinestro's kind of left alone to reflect on that. So that one, again, nothing too great, but I was reasonably impressed by it. And then the last story is just basically the prologue of the movie, this essentially Star Wars scroll that just goes through the creation of the Green Lantern Corps, and we get some really cool art that shows all the weird variety of characters, with the very intently designed 3D model based characters. So I thought that was pretty cool. I will say Kilowog probably doesn't look the best he could in that image, and also like this. That's neat to see. It reminds me of the old Green Lantern Corps logo. I kind of want to see if I can shop that and turn it into a banner, because that's really neat. But yeah, that's just it's the prologue of the movie, more or less, just with different art. So that was cool. And then we get a preview for New 52, Geoff Johns Sinestro. Yeah, so I actually really did enjoy this. It's very tangentially connected to the movie, so it is essentially just a Tales of the Green Lantern Corps book. And I always really do enjoy those, with the exception of last week. So I thought that was really good. Shadow Batman says, I like how there is no scene where Sinestro has that moment of where, look, audience, he's going to be evil on one day. Yeah, that's what I really like about Sinestro, is he's not technically evil and like the mustache twirling comic book villain that a lot of people think of him as. He's a sympathetic fascist, which I don't know if that's a thing that exists, but they do a good job of portraying him as a character where you can, if you grew up under those circumstances, you can see where it comes from, but he still goes too far anyway. He's still very clearly in the wrong, and I really do like that. Otherwise, just wanted to show this off real quick. Take the dust jacket off, get some cool cover art on the inside. This is just a book that came out as part of the promotional stuff, and it's just kind of, the behind the scenes of the Green Lantern movie, more or less. So you just get all kinds of cool stuff in here, including some really great prints that looks of some of the comic art, but that's cool. Otherwise, this is just all talking about some of the stuff that they did to work on getting the movie together, and I do quite like it. The thing I like most, though, is the character design, so I'm going to find that section real quick, because they just put a lot of work in these characters, and I wanted to show off some of the really high-quality images you get of the 3D models, because they look great. And there's even some practical effects, like here's Abin Sur's dead body. I thought that was kind of cool, because that scene was done practically. Oh, where's the character design at? There's the costume design. They go into all the detail of how they got up with that. And there's design for Oa and what they went through with that. I mean, really, some of this design concept work is really, really sick. I really do love a lot of the passion put into the visual side of the Green Lantern movie, and that's one of my favorite things about it. The Green Lantern Corps. So now we just get some really cool, nice up-close images. Like here's a very good close-up on the model for Tomar Ray, and I just love the translucency of the skin. It looks so weird and cool and detailed, and I think it's great. And they go through some of the stuff. Like in the comic, they mention that Tomar Ray's people get angry and change their skin tone, and so that's reflected here. I thought that was pretty cool. Now, as a detail that they wanted to put in the model for the character because they were planning to make more movies, but they just never got to really show off. Nice close-up on Kilowog. You can even see, the little hairs coming up out of his skull and his face. So that's pretty cool. Sinestro is a character that they did a lot of different designs for the costume. They weren't quite sure what they're going to do. Fantastic makeup work on Mark Strong as Sinestro there. Intense. And then you just get like other cool little close-ups on some of these weird alien designs. I really like it. I like it a lot, guys. See if I can find some of the better ones. Oh, yep, there's Boudica. Nice close-up on her. Then we got Rotlop Fan, my boy. My boy, Rotlop Fan. Like these, where's my hand up? Okay. Yeah, it's so hard smeared. These like big nodes on his back are apparently like his eardrums. They really did a lot of detail in creating the thought process behind these characters. Left, final design for Rotlop Fan by Neville Page and Tully Summers. The blind Green Lantern communicates acoustically, so the hunches on his back were designed as huge tympanic membranes. We made them into these large gelatinous sacs that create and resolve sound, explains Page. So that's really cool. And we just get like all these, really intense, high detail renders on these different members of the Green Lantern Corps that they designed for the movie, and I always thought it was really neat. Like this design for Salat is just crazy. It's so cool and imaginative. Opposite, final design for the multi-limb bookkeeper at the Green Lantern Corps, Salak, by Neville Page and Tully Summers. Left, final metaphil, designed by Neville Page and Tully Summers. And what's cool about this is all of these are actual characters from the comics. Rotlop Fan, obviously, but like metaphil is like a plant creature that's a Green Lantern. And so they had to okay, how do we make that look, realistic? And so that's really cool that they managed to do it. And so they designed all the characters essentially as nude, and then, sculpted the costume onto it, which is really, really cool. And yeah, then you just get these finalized things that name every member of the Corps that appeared. So like Iolande is there. Bizd showed up. So happy about that. Gallius Zed, who in the comics is just a head with 2 arms and 2 legs, but they actually had to try to find a way to make that believable and work, and I think they did a good job. Yeah, it's just a bunch of cool designs, stuff like that. Always appreciated that about this book. There's more to it, but that's my favorite section, so I figured I'd show it off. Anyway, that's going to do it for me for Comic Reviews today, everyone. I hope you had a really good time watching. Until next time, bye!
That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.